Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Tom Morgan Drum Studio. Now we're in the sequential approach to fundamental snare drum, and hopefully again you've been coming along with me with the book and going page by page. We've made it up to page 51 now, and we're going to take the rhythms that we've been working on, those 5 rhythms that we talked about and had exercises for in the pages before now. These are very common rhythms. Well, we're going to take some of those and we're going to make them into buzz exercises. And that's what happens on page 51. Now, there's many ways you can go through this, and I recommend you doing at least 2 different ways. One, just pick one line and just keep repeating it over and over, and do that for all of the lines. And then another way to practice it is to just start at the beginning and repeat each line one time, but go straight down the page without stopping. There's benefit for both of those. If you do one line, it really helps you kind of lock in those rhythms and the technique of playing the buzz rolls, because the buzzes start sometimes in unusual places. And then if you start at the top and just go down, you're reading it and it's changing up on you all the time, so you're learning to recognize the rhythms quickly. So I recommend doing both of those things. Also, you could start with the left hand. This is all set up using the right hand system that we talked about, all the stickings. But you could also do it reverse and start with the left and reverse the sticking. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just play straight down the page, taking each repeat, just playing each line 2 times and moving right down from top to bottom. So here we go. Notice that the first measure doesn't have buzz, and then the second measure is the same, it just adds buzzes in various places. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, and go. All right, so that's the short buzz exercise that uses some of the other rhythms that we've talked about. Now, if we turn the page, when we get to 52, we are given another metronome fun exercise. So I know you're all excited about that. And here's our metronome. And if you notice at the top, it recommends that you practice these exercises at various tempos, all the way from 44 beats per minute all the way up to 100, and of course you could go faster than that if you wanted to. I'm going to pick a kind of 72 just for our purposes today, so hopefully you can hear that well. So if you look at the page, we see that the little slash marks are put above the notes where the clicks will fall. Now, I'm not going to play all of these, but I'll play a few of them to give you an idea. The idea, again, is to connect with that click to the point where you almost can't hear it because you're playing so perfectly with it. So I'll play the first line pretty easy, and I'll just take a second before I start to just really ingrain that tempo in my head. You could subdivide it in your mind. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and to really get it locked in. Okay, here we go. 2, ready, and go. Okay, so the only measure that's different is the second measure in that one. Okay, let's drop down to line 3 and do the same thing. 1, 2, and ready, and go. Okay. Now, if you're having trouble with this, slow it down. You know, just work on just the easier ones first. They kind of get more difficult as they move down the page. Let's look at number 5. Okay. 1, 2, and ready, and go. Okay, so that's what we're shooting for, trying to get locked in with that metronome. All right, we'll drop down to number 7. So when you have rests where a click is, you really want to hear that click happen right in the right place on the rest. So if you get to a rest and the click sounds like it's ahead or behind, then you know you're off from the metronome, and you know you're either rushing or dragging. So the rests really kind of help you see clearly whether or not you're really with the metronome, because it should sound like you just played where the click is. You know, that would be the next note you'd play, right where the rest is. So here's number 7. 1, 2, and ready, and go. Okay, so that one's a little bit tricky. But, you know, it's really worth practicing that until you can lock that in with the metronome. And we'll do the last one. 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay. Now, one thing you'll find is that as you play a slower tempo, you might think, well, the slower tempo is much easier. And in some ways it is, but if you play really slow, like clear down to 44, like I have it marked there, there's a lot of time between clicks. And so there's a lot of space where you can mess up your accuracy. So playing slow oftentimes is a lot more difficult than people think it is to try to stay locked in with the metronome. So spend some time with that. Don't let it bog you down. You can always come back to it and keep practicing it, you know, as you're going through the rest of the book. Just kind of check in with it and see, how am I doing with my metronome playing? Am I able to play and stay with it? Of course, you can also use the metronome on any of the other exercises that aren't metronome fun exercises. And I recommend that especially if you're having trouble keeping an even tempo, lock in with that metronome. And if you're having trouble with it, don't give up. Keep working on it, because you can get to where you can do it. It just takes time and practice. All right? So hopefully that's helpful. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Please like this video. I really appreciate it when you do that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click that bell so you'll know when the next one comes out. And we'll see you in the next one, all right?